1, a 2, a 1.
It's time for the Better Horses Radio Show. So let's saddle up and ride as we explore the Western way of life, horses and cows, family and friends, a relationship with the land, and a relationship with God. It's all here on Better Horses Radio. Now let's hit the trails with the Better Horses team.
And welcome to Better Horses Radio. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we are proud that you joined us, and thank you for listening in. Hey, Merle, I got to tell you, I am very proud of this week and this whole lineup of guests.
We have got some great guests, and it's something a little bit for everything this week.
You know, I got to tell you, we're going to start it off with one of the guys that are coming in that I'm very proud to announce. The Olympian equine medalist Kyle Carter is going to be coming to us from Florida. Merle, he has 5 ring stables. And, you know, he's a medalist, not only a silver medalist at the World Equestrian Games, but he also competed on the Canadian team.
A very accomplished equestrian.
We're going to be talking about eventing for all of our listeners that said we haven't put enough time into eventing. Here we go. And we also are going to go into what we call ag law.
Roger McCowan is going to give us his perspective of ag law from Washburn University.
And, you know, I'm excited about this, Merle, because Roger's going to come to us with a lot of updates on ag law throughout the rest of the show. And, you know, this is going to be an ongoing segment, but we thought we'd just introduce him and kind of give us an update of what's going on around the world.
And last, we go to Jennifer Anderson of Shawnee Horse Sales in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Trying to answer the question, is it better to go privately and buy a horse, or should you go to these horse sales that have really upped their game a lot?
Man, as a kid, there wasn't anything I enjoyed more than going to a good horse sale. You know, that was always exciting for me.
You know, I think that's a lot of fun. Hey, but before we get started with all of that, I got to throw it to our Better Cattle segment with Mark Oppold. Mark, it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. Good to be part of the team here and on the program here once again. Looking forward to another great show here and learning more here myself. And here we are rolling into the July and the July 4th holiday. Hard to believe that we're in July, but you know, like they say, the time just rolls by faster and faster. So the calendar stops for no one, and we do celebrate July 4th. That being said, I do want to mention that I'm going to deviate next week from the normal Better Cattle. I'll have some comments about the cattle market, but my wife Kathy found a very interesting article about the American eagle and what happens as the eagle ages, and how they do or don't adapt to the aging process. Interesting, very interesting. I learned a lot just from this article. I want to share that with folks here next week. Looking forward to that. Well, the Cattle on Feed report, I want to start there today, continues to show the cow-calf sector unwilling to give up price today for what may come a year from now, because with expansion, we think there'll be a lot more burden on prices instead of a boom. October saw a huge increase in open interest in the October futures, and that was just before the Cattle on Feed report showed elevated placements, and those cattle will be marketed in October. They're going to need to have a very low cost of gain, as the average price for the month then is about $245, and even more hinges on the consumer from now till then. We are in this week's, of course, retailers buying for the July 4th holiday. In fact, they're probably just about done with buying for the holiday and getting their specials put together. And then restocking the shelves and the summer heat. We'll see consumers shift, if there is one, in discretionary spending between the end of July and, of course, then you start talking about back to school. I know kids don't want to hear that, but it's summer goes fast for kids as well as adults. You know, and one of the things on the Cattle on Feed report as I end today, that placement number is always the one that has a wide range of estimates each and every month. Analysts, and keep in mind, they say that these surveys only capture feedlots with 1,000 head capacity or more. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of smaller operations. A lot of them have, of course, horses that you talk about here, and they have a few head of cattle. Hundreds of smaller operations across the country that are not included in the data that we see each month. The total cattle feeder sales down 4.8% during the month of May, but sales of feeders over 600 pounds, by the way, were 7.5% higher than last year. And adding to the supply, I want to end here, imports adding to the overall supply. Imports from Mexico are up 28% from a year ago, and they're up 11% from Canada year over year. So things to keep in mind. That's going to do it for us today, Ed. Looking forward to the rest of the program. I hope everybody has a great week and a profitable week ahead.
So let's get this show started. Mark, we appreciate all the updates with Better Cattle. Merle, we got a guest lineup that we're really going to be excited about.
So don't touch that dial.
We'll be right back.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
Routine dental examination and treatments are essential for high-quality horse care. To prevent potential problems, a horse's mouth should be examined at least once a year. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins, Equine Field Service Veterinarian at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. We can examine the mouth and provide a treatment plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
Hi, I'm Tommy with Heritage Tractor. Whether you're looking to maintain your yard or your whole ranching operation, Heritage Tractor has John Deere mower and tractor packages that make work fly by. With a variety of horsepower and attachment configurations, we have a package to best fit your needs and budget. To learn more about these exclusive packages, visit us in store or online at heritagetractor.com.
Legendary products, extraordinary service, that's our heritage.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes the barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
And welcome back to Better Horses. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And Merle, I am thrilled for our next guest, which is brought to you by Kleinschmidt's Western Wear. And, we've talked about this many times, but this is about the best store you can get together and get totally geared up on Western apparel. And they've been a family-owned and operated business since 1969. Credible inventory. Check them out in Higginsville, Missouri, or on their website at kleinboot.com. So, Merle, we talked about a lot this show and how important it is on learning, but we are thrilled to have an Olympian equine silver medalist, Kyle Carter, coming to us right here on Better Horses. And for those who are not familiar with Kyle, he's established himself as one of the top riders. Kyle's become a very successful coach. Now, he's coached multiple riders in the 5-star level, and he's also had more medals to his name than any other young rider coach. And Kyle is passionate about helping riders fulfill their potential and takes great pride in seeing his students succeed, and even, Merle, if they end up being a better rider than he is. So welcome aboard, Kyle. Competed in the 2008 Olympics on the Canadian eventing team and won a silver medal in the 2010 World Equestrian Games. So, Kyle, welcome to Better Horses, and we appreciate you joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
We have been schooled, Merle and I, many times about not having enough eventing conversations going on. Kyle, walk us through. I know you've moved from Canada to Florida, and you've been riding for a very long time. Can you kind of give us your background?
Yeah, it's amazing because I'm only 25 years old, but I've been doing this for 35 years. So it is quite an impressive time frame.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm in Canada out west, and always been around horses. Moved to England for a year and worked over there as a working student. Came back, set up a business that was based primarily in Calgary, and then did a lot of show jumping back when I was younger as well. And I just sort of gravitated towards the eventing because it was a lot, it was more accessible financially, and I could train horses to do that a little easier. So I started doing that, and I moved every winter. I'd come south, and I lived in Texas for a little bit. I lived in California for a short time. I lived in Georgia for a bit. And then I ran a farm in Kentucky for like 3.5, 4 years in Lexington, and then moved back to Canada and started basing in Florida in the winter. And we bought a farm here, and then we just got tired of all the traveling and started to just spend all our time down here in Ocala.
Now, for our listening audience, and I don't want to assume anything, so let's have you describe eventing and what it entails and how you get started in it.
Okay, well, so the primary thing with it is it basically involves all three Olympic disciplines. So we have to do dressage, the misery of dressage in front of a group of people that are judging you and giving you terrible marks and telling you how awful you are, which is obviously how you want to start every weekend. Then the next day is basically what would be considered the meat and potatoes of the sport traditionally, which is galloping at speed on cross country over solid fences, ditches, water. Usually at the top level, it's about a 12-minute course, and it staggers as it goes down. The shorter courses are usually about 6 minutes. It's pretty accessible to anybody because you can take any horse and do like lowest level, and it's quite fun. It's really good bonding with an animal because you spend more time out there, I think, than in most disciplines. And then on the third day, you come back and you show jump over rails that obviously traditionally fall down.
And Kyle, what do you find is the most challenging? I get a feeling that you're not a big dressage fan based on your comments, but
no, I really, really I love dressage. I just am not a fan of. I don't actually like showing it. I mean, I don't like going to the ring and having to go through a test that you're judged on not going off course, which I do enough of, and I just enjoy the part with the horse. But like anything, subjective is kind of hard. Sometimes you have a bad day and you get a great mark, and then sometimes you have a great day and you get a crappy mark, and you like to see the consistency. So I'm not a big subjective sport person. I like being based on performance. And honestly, the toughest and my favorite part of it is it really depends on the horse I'm riding. Like I've had horses that were so good on the flat, you just really looked forward to doing it. And then I've had horses that were just unbelievable on cross country. And then, other ones that were really good in the show jumping, which now is a very big part of our sport. Like it's so expensive having a rail or two, so you can no longer be competitive if you're having those. So honestly, whatever the horse is the best at is usually the most fun. But I didn't get in it because I wanted to do dressage. I would have just done dressage or show jump. I really loved the cross country and, still really enjoy it. It does give you an adrenaline rush that people talk about, but it's just a different adrenaline rush. I think all of it can do that for you, but it's such a long spat of time out there while you're managing all that.
So a lot of us are asking the question, what breed is your favorite? I mean, naturally you'd think warm bloods for the dressage, but you're doing 3 events here. So what do you kind of focus in on?
Well, I mean, traditionally the thoroughbreds were the most common in the sport, but it was, I think, partly obviously running and being able to gallop a long distance is a big part of it. So that leans you towards that, but it also was accessible. You could pick a thoroughbred up fairly inexpensively and develop it. And that's really why I think they're the best horse in the world, honestly. Right now, my barn is mostly warm bloods. I've got a Holsteiner stallion I'm producing right now that I think is probably the best horse I've sat on. And then we just picked up a Dutch mare that looks equally as talented. And those are the ones I'm trying to aim sort of for the next Olympics, if I can stick with it that long. So yeah, like my heart's in the thoroughbreds for sure. It's harder to cull through them and find the horse you want. Whereas the warm bloods usually, it's just easier to find the quality in them because that's what they're only set for horse sport, you know?
We looked at that. You've served as a coach in Venezuela on the eventing team in 2015 at the Pan Am Games in Toronto. And then you were also a coach in the United States eventing team. And I think you've coached in Guatemala, or is that right?
Yeah, no, I've not coached the American eventing team. I've coached a lot of Americans, a lot of young riders and things like that that are American because this is where I'm based. But yeah, I developed through I actually was asked by the FEI, a bunch of coaches were asked to develop underdeveloped nations in the sport. So I took Guatemala and I was with them for one cycle from not having a team all the way to the Pan Ams in Mexico. Right before that Pan Am Games, I had an individual rider from Venezuela who, between all of the stuff, we decided I'd be better off just kind of going and focusing on her performance because, as you can imagine, in a team, there's a lot of commitment. And with that, it just, at that point, we sort of transitioned to another coach took them on at the Pan Ams. But yeah, developing the teams was really awesome because these are countries that had no format, no real plan in place. And so I really enjoyed that because I love the creative elements of all the horse sport. Like, I don't want to just do the same thing all the time. I have to be mentally sort of challenged or intrigued by it and be creative.
Now you moved from Canada to Florida, and you now have a boarding barn, 5 ring stables in Florida. I think that's by Ocala. Yeah. And so you're doing coaching and breeding all at the same time?
Yeah, coaching, breeding, riding, buying and selling. We're a full operation here with 57 acres, and I think we got like 40 stalls, 3 different barns. We have a cross country course. It's a really good area to be in. We've got like 3 or 4 rings on the farm, and then we actually in the winters now rent a barn or 2 out. And then the other thing we do is my wife and I and a couple of former students developed a coaching app actually called Ride IQ. And so we've been developing on that for about 3 years now. And that it's awesome. It's a guided riding app that you just have on your phone. And you ride along with a coach who's riding their horse. And it just gives people more knowledge and better access to how to train a horse. And it's been really well received. And that was really fun to develop. I really enjoy that aspect of everything. I'm not much of a manager after development starts. So right. My interest is in creativity.
Well, and Kyle, I'm sure you've been a lot of students' mentor, and you've learned, they've learned from you. But who are the people maybe that have influenced you, or who have you looked up to and been a mentor in for you?
That's a great question. There's so many people that have influenced me because, in the time I've done it, it's not like if you had only one mentor, you're probably not getting as far ahead. But my first real eye-opening coach was a fellow who was the riding master at Spruce Meadows up in Calgary called Albert Cly. And he really made me understand the impact of horsemanship to everything we do. And I mean, he was absolutely responsible for me to actually find my way into this industry. And then I worked for Leslie Law in England for a year. He's a gold medalist from the Olympics in Athens, and it was well before that. But he had a buying and selling operation there, and so I worked for him for a year. And he lives down the road from me now. He's still a good friend, and that was again very impactful because he had so much enthusiasm, and it just sort of permeated everything we did. David O'Connor was our Canadian team coach for a while. He was the one that coached while I was riding when we went to the Pan Ams in Rio, the Olympics, and then the World Championships. And that was he's very good at being a mentor because you can bounce questions and ideas off of him, and he's thoughtful about his responses. And so he has a very good leveling way about him, which is, super important. And then honestly, there's so many other people that have influenced me, but the horse is really the biggest teacher. You can, especially doing it as long as I have with the number of horses that we've done it with, like there's been literally hundreds and hundreds of them that have come through. There's always something that like I'll use on a horse that, I'll have used before, and then it has a different reaction, a different response. And you start to realize how individual they all are. And, and I see people that like have their 1 or 2 standard answers for something. And it's just sort of mentally exhausting trying to explain how, when you really look at the horse's sort of feedback, you're getting different responses for different reasons. There's not like you can just put them into one box. And so, really letting the horse sort of help you along. And honestly, I've made so many mistakes in my training and things that was a huge part of the learning curve as well. And that's, I think, probably the biggest thing I can bring to the coaching end of it is most of the stuff I'm doing is trying to guide people around the stupid things that I did and not let them fall into those potholes,
Sure.
If you just joined us, we're talking to Kyle Carter. He's an Olympian equine medalist at 5 Ring Stables in Florida. Kyle, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and just get involved in your program, how can they get in contact with you?
If they Google 5 Ring Stable or Carter Eventing, those things will come up. It'll be through social media platforms. Kyle and Jennifer Carter Eventing is on Facebook, and I don't know all the handles that we have because I'm so not social media savvy. And then if they're on Ride IQ as a member, they can just actually message us through that. And those people obviously have pretty direct connection to us.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us and really appreciate the time and the energy you put towards the equine community. We're talking to Kyle Carter at 5 Ring Stables. He's an Olympian equine medalist. Merle, we're going to take a break right now. We appreciate Kyle joining us. In the meantime, I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we'll be right back right after this word from our sponsor. And welcome back to Better Horses Radio. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And Merle, I can't tell you, this is what I'm thrilled, and I'm really, keyed up here, is we just keep learning. And we're taking pivoting a little bit more on the educational part of what we do in agriculture. And that's really talking about the law. I know you and I don't talk enough about it. We're always talking about horses. And I don't think you and I have delved into this deep enough.
No, we haven't. I also want to mention that our next segment is sponsored by Heritage Tractor. Explore their great selection of their John Deere tractors, implements, mowers, and more.
And I am thrilled to have somebody that's really important coming into our show, Roger McGowan, our professor of ag law at Washburn University School of Law. Roger, welcome to Better Horses.
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
This is kind of an exciting topic because all of us at one point or another are going to have legal issues of whether we're a farmer, whether a rancher, or whether we're dealing with horses. What are some of the top things that you find yourself dealing with when we're talking about ag law?
Well, I would say, Ed, the number one reason, and I've been doing this 32 years, the number one, sorry to say reason, but reason for questions that I get, and that's either individually, directly when I'm talking to people, or by email or letter or request for seminars, and that's tax related. So farm income tax, farm estate planning, farm business planning, that is by far the number one area of concern for farmers and ranchers. That touches basically what they do, particularly on the income tax side of things, on a daily basis. And then after that, if you take the tax and the estate planning and the business planning out of it, the next 2 biggest areas would be leases and fences. And then you have a whole host of other issues that fill in after those. But the top would be income tax, estate planning, business planning, and then fences and leases.
Looking at the farming, and we're talking about heritage tax, things of that sort. And has the law changed to the farmer out there that has Iowa farmland or Missouri farmland or Kansas farmland, that they can inherit that to their kids? Is any of that law has changed in the last 5 to 10 years?
Well, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was a major change. So beginning with 2018, the exemption from federal estate tax doubled and then was indexed for inflation. So it went from 5 to 10 million at the beginning of 2018, and then has been indexed for inflation. And now we're over 14 million on that, or over 13 million, almost 14 million per decedent at this point in time. But at the same time, if you look back over the past 20 years, you mentioned Iowa farmland values. Iowa farmland values are up 400%. So had that exemption not gone up substantially, then there would have been a massive, massive problem for a lot more farmers and ranchers than there had been in the past. So still, the estate tax, the federal estate tax, does not impact that many farms and ranches. It's a small percentage, very small percentage. But if Congress doesn't do anything, that exemption is going to get cut in half starting in 2026. And that's what farmers and ranchers are concerned about right now.
We talked about farmers all over across the country. Water seems to be a big issue, especially when you're sitting in the Southwest side. What's the biggest issue that farmers are dealing with today?
Water allocation issues and disputes with rights to water on federally controlled land or flowing from federally controlled land. That's a big issue out west. The rights that tribes have, particularly some important cases coming out of New Mexico and Arizona, and the rights of endangered species. Does there have to be a certain amount of water, or what's known as a minimum desirable stream flow left in a particular stream to protect a species of fish that nobody ever sees, basically, and that gets routed away from agricultural uses? Those are the big issues out west. And of course, in the eastern half of the country, the problem is too much water. Just look at northwest Iowa as we speak right now, and up into Minnesota, we have dams bursting and I-29 that's underwater because there's too much water. So it's an issue of allocation, whether we have too much or too little. How do we get that properly allocated to agricultural uses? And in Kansas, the drawdown of the Ogallala Aquifer, the largest underground body of water in the United States, is what really fuels agricultural production in western Kansas and in the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas and in the Sandhills of Nebraska. And the drawdown on that is a concern too. And what are we going to do with less water in the future? And then, of course, the U.S. Supreme Court just a few days ago decided a very significant water case. And that has to do with the agreement that was entered into between Texas and New Mexico and Colorado about water in the Rio Grande River. And the court said, well, the government has to be a party to that. Under the Constitution, the states can enter into these compacts, but the Congress has to agree to it. So the Texas and New Mexico had figured out how they were going to allocate the water, but the court said, well, the Constitution requires the Congress to approve it, so you can't just decide these things on your own. And that really is going to have a major implication, I think, in the future with respect to states trying to deal with localized issues. And if they enter into these agreements, the court is saying now the federal government has its say in here too. So that's a big issue right now.
Roger, one question I did want to talk to you about is the chemical and fertilizer, and if there's any big issues as far as that sustainability in the Iowa farmland or any farmland that's going across the country.
Yeah, one of the big issues there right now are these what are called PFAs or PFAS, whichever acronym way you want to pronounce it. And those are these biosolids, these byproducts, particularly of wastewater treatment plants that have these compounds in them that really don't break down. But as a result of wastewater treatment, it produces a product that farmers can use as fertilizer on their farms. Well, there was a case recently, it's out of the state of Michigan, where the state came in and did some testing, and they found the presence of these chemicals that don't break down. And the end result was that farm was basically shut down. He can't sell his livestock, can't sell his crops, and he can't generate any income from that farm. That's something that we're going to have to figure out how we're going to deal with that issue, because I think more and more states are going to start testing procedures. We don't do that in Kansas for the presence of PFAs, but that's a big issue. And then, of course, historically, the last 5-10 years, we've had litigation in the state of Iowa involving runoff into the Des Moines River. And the question was whether the court would impose additional restrictions on farming practices based on that runoff. The court said, no, that's a political question. So we get into these areas of the law where it kind of grades over into politics. And if the courts do what the courts are supposed to do, they'll say, no, we're not going to get into that. We're going to leave that up to the elected politicians. That's more of a public issue that the public needs to be involved in. And so that's up to the particular state legislatures to decide. But that's a big issue, fertilizer runoff. We've got a swamp buster case that is sitting there waiting on what the U.S. Supreme Court is going to say on whether what we call Chevron deference, the amount of deference that's given into an administrative agency. I think they're going to change that rule. And if they lower or eliminate Chevron deference, then I think they're going to agree to hear a case out of South Dakota on whether the swamp buster rules are constitutional. So that's a huge issue that's out there right now. And we just had a case, speaking of the Supreme Court, just a few days ago that dealt with the entire income tax structure and can a tax be imposed when there hasn't been a tax realization event? And the court said, yeah, there can, with respect to a pass-through entity such as an S corporation or a partnership. So a lot of big stuff with implications for farmers and ranchers going on and constantly going on.
You know, you're talking to Roger McOwen, a professor at Law of Washburn University of Law. And one of the things that I did want to talk about before I let you go is the agricultural trade deficit is widening. And is there anything from a farming standpoint that we need to be concerned about as far as the American farmers are concerned from a global competitive standpoint, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a big issue right now, too, because I'm of the opinion that as we speak right now, here we're in late June, I don't think we're going to get a farm bill by the end of this year. It would have to be a miracle to get a farm bill this year. And that's something that perhaps could be addressed in a farm bill. But really, the situation we're in has to do a lot with markets. And some of that's impacted by what's happened over in Ukraine in the Black Sea area. But if you look at production numbers, and I just did a piece, I've got to speak on this in the coming days in Columbia, Missouri, as part of a conference that I'm doing, part of an all-day conference I'm doing for CPAs. And I'll go through the farm economy. If you look at the numbers of corn production outside the U.S., it has really ramped up. Same thing for soybeans and wheat production. The U.S. share of the world market on all three of those major commodities is at some would say historic lows. And then on the livestock side of things, we've got record beef prices, but we also have record low inventories of cattle. So yeah, beef prices are great, but nobody's got them. Nobody's got cattle. So that's the issue that's out there. So a number of things going on in the farm economy. The hog industry is decimated. And if you look at what's happening in Iowa, there's a massive clean out like we haven't seen in 25, 26 years.
You know, Roger, I appreciate you coming on board. I want to tell our listening audience nationwide that we're going to have you as part of our program, and we're really excited to actually give you that forum to actually give us an update of what's going on with ag law all across the country and with all the verticals and topics that we plan to discuss. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to hearing all of your updates on what's going on and educating us as much as we can on ag law. Roger, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, Merle, we're going to stop it there, but I tell you what, we're going to keep this program going. I want everybody to stay with us. We're going to be talking to Jennifer Anderson. She's going to be owner of the Shawnee Horse Sales coming up next. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we'll be right back right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dylan Luter, a specialist in equine performance medicine at the Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Our new service focuses on lameness diagnosis, advanced imaging, physical therapy, and regenerative medicine for horses with injuries preventing them from performing at their best. We can treat a variety of conditions and design a customized rehabilitation plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
Hi, I'm Tommy with Heritage Tractor. Whether you're looking to maintain your yard or your whole ranching operation, Heritage Tractor has John Deere mower and tractor packages that make work fly by. With a variety of horsepower and attachment configurations, we have a package to best fit your needs and budget. To learn more about these exclusive packages, visit us in store or online at heritagetractor.com.
Legendary products, extraordinary service. That's our heritage.
Established in 1956, the Pinto Horse Association of America was formed to welcome all types of equines and maintain their show records and pedigrees. PTHA currently has over 88,000 members with 157,000 registered pintos. There are currently 3 separate registries: the Color Registry, the Solid Registry, and the Long Ear Registry. We welcome all levels of competition within a family-friendly environment. Become a member, register, and add value to your horse. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes a barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
And welcome back to Better Horses. Merle, this has been one incredible show, and it's getting very intellectual, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interesting guests, and we'll continue to have some more.
You know, I think the fun part about this is we're going to tap into a subject matter that a lot of people just continue to talk about, and when it's buying and selling horses. And I think this is very important when it comes to the industry today, because the industry is changing. And I'm very excited to have Jennifer Anderson. She's the owner of Shawnee Horse Sales, and she's located in Oklahoma. And I'd like to say, welcome to Better Horses, Jennifer.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
You know, Merle and I talk about this all the time because we have boarding barns, and we're always watching, if not our clients, we're buying and selling horses all day long. With the internet, with all of the platforms that are available today, there are multiple ways to buy horses. Now, you're with the Shawnee Horse Sale, and I just wanted to tap in from your perspective. What's the advantages and disadvantages of going to horse sales, and how have they progressed today?
Well, I think what sets us apart from, and there are other sales that do this, not very many, but we have a 72-hour soundness guarantee just to make sure, you know, there's nothing wrong with the horse or nobody misrepresents it. We have very little trouble with it, but occasionally, you know, we have to send a horse back, and that's why I like that guarantee, because we like to protect the buyers and the sellers. But sales sometimes get a bad name because they think that, you know, that's just a dumping grounds for something that they don't want, and that's not the case. I don't think that's the case at our sale, because we do have rules against that. And so I buy most of my horses at sales, and then I very, very seldom sell a horse private. I always put them in the sales. I love sales. You could say I'm addicted to them, but okay. I bought so many really nice show horses out of my sale and other sales.
Is it a fair statement that you actually can get more vet checked and you have more of less of a chance, rephrase, of buying something that you didn't want at a horse sale versus somebody that you walked into their farm and they basically said, yeah, there's my horse and it's done all this stuff without any type of verification?
Yeah, they have to announce if their horse has a blemish or anything, they have to announce it while they're selling the horse, just to give everybody the whole truth about the horse.
And I think at least in the Midwest, we've seen horse sales that have disappeared. As a kid, I can remember there was always a local horse sale down the street, once a week, and you'd go here and there. I think there's a lack of quality horse sales, at least in the Midwest. How do you feel like it is nationally? Do you think there's as many as there used to be?
It's gotten a little harder because there's so many online sales now, which you can buy online at any of my sales, but they're all 7 of them are actually live auctions. So, I prefer to go to a live auction because I want to watch that horse travel myself and I want to talk to the person. I've never bought a horse online. And not saying that I might, if I knew the person and I knew I could really trust them, I would consider it. But otherwise, my number one is always to go see the horse in person.
I've had several clients that, maybe didn't ask me for an opinion before, or maybe they just bought it over a video off the internet or something like that. And the experience hasn't always gone well. So I think it's important for people, especially if they're really serious about buying the right horse, to see that horse in person. And I see it on the ground, like at your sales.
Right. Absolutely.
So Jennifer, can you give us the economic impact of what's going on with horses today? I think a lot of people said that, horses has just skyrocketed in prices. You've been doing this for a very long time. Can you give everybody your background and where you think the economics are today versus 2 or 3 years ago?
36 years ago, I started putting on horse sales. So I have been doing it for a long time. And I have 3 Shawnee horse sales. And then I put on the pink buckle, the ruby buckle, the Riata buckle, and the legacy reigning breeder sale. But every one of those sales has pretty much the same exact rules. We all have the soundness guarantee at every one of them. Some require x-rays and some do not. But I think, for the last 2 years, we all were spoiled, me included, on the prices. Well, they have fallen a little bit in the last 6 months. It's still really good, but it's not as good. But the horse market fluctuates all the time. It always has, and it'll go. It will really go up, and then it'll come back down to what I call a little bit more reality. But they're still really, really good. They're not as good as they were, in the past couple years.
And if you're just joining us, we're talking to Jennifer Anderson, owner of Shawnee Horse Sales, located in Oklahoma. When you said as good, let's talk about breeds for just a minute. Obviously, ranch riding is becoming a big thing here around the Midwest. Do you find yourself really seeing quarter horses going better than thoroughbreds, or vice versa, or any type of draft horses? What's your take out there?
Well, I don't think the quarter horse world is ever going to catch the racehorse world. That's always been, the biggest market. So I think, but I still think we're we're certainly very competitive, and the quarter horse world there's a lot of nice horses for sale. I don't think there is as many, great ones as there used to be. They're a little bit harder to find, but you can still find them.
And what is primarily the discipline, like at your sales? Is it mostly show horses? Is it ranch horses? Is it a little bit of everything? What would people expect to see, at a Shawnee sale?
Well, at the Shawnee sale, we sell a lot of reiners. We sell a lot of ranch horses, team roping horses, trail horses. That's a variety, where the other sales are a specific event and they have to be eligible and be in that specific event. But the Shawnee sale, we sell, and we even sell, we take a few really nice ponies I like to have something for everybody. And occasionally we'll sell a Friesian or, a Gypsy Banner. I like to sell a cup of like a really kind of a novelty. I don't take but one or two usually each sale because I don't want to flood it. But I mean, our biggest market is for just performance, anything in the performance horse.
Jennifer, let's take it from a viewpoint of a seller. If I want to sell my horses and give it to you, what can I expect if I unload 10 or 15 horses? You don't automatically take them. You vet those out?
You have to consign. All of our stuff is online, and the consignment form is online. You have to go on our website at shawneehorsesales.net and fill out the consignment form. And we do a catalog with the pedigree research. We do a 5 generation, and we highlight the sire and the dam, and we do a lot of research. We use that Robin Glenn's Q data program for all of our sales.
And from a standpoint that you don't give me exact costs of what everything costs because it varies percentage wise, does it make a difference between one auction to another in commissions?
Well, all of our commission on all of our sales is 8%. We have pass out. We have to pay a pass out commission if you don't sell your horse at Shawnee. There is no pass out fee, but at the other ones there are. And then, but it also, we have side pots they run for, and the other one, like the Pink, the Ruby, and Riata, has a big side pot, and so they have to pay 8% commission whether they sell the horse or not. But at Shawnee, it's just the catalog fee, and there is no commission if you don't sell your horse.
And about biosecurity, when you're getting all those horses in at one time, I assume that's one of your big thought processes, making sure everybody's healthy. Is there any inspections that we have to go through before we give you a horse, or papers?
Well, they
or
all
things
have
of
to
that sort?
come with a current Coggins, and they have to come with a health certificate.
There you go.
So we do.
Yes. And I think that's probably one of the biggest advantages, that you're going in there, that's been somewhat vet checked into the process, but also your biosecurity is going to be fine and you don't have anything to worry about. I find that to be probably the biggest selling point. Along with, does the seller get to talk to the buyer when they're in the auction, or what's the forum that you like both sides to talk to each other?
Well, they can. I prefer they talk to them before they go into the sale ring, and then they can ask any sort of question. But they can also ask a question while the horse is in the sale, and then the consignor does have to state if they get up there. They'll read the footnote that the consignor wrote in the catalog, and then they can add anything they want to. So they might grab the microphone and talk about their own horse, or they might just tell the pedigree reader what to say, and he says it for them.
And Jennifer, I believe you have a upcoming sale. Is it September 28th? Is that right?
Yes.
And so if somebody was interested in getting their horse into that sale at Shawnee, especially, how would they go about doing that?
They just go on the website to shawneehorsesales.net, and they click on the consignment form, and it's really easy. And then they mail us the papers and the transfer, and then they can bring their Coggins and health with them to the sale that day before when they check in.
Jennifer, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on board and explaining this process to us. We'd like to have you come back and let everybody know that the Shawnee Horse Sale is coming September 28th, and that will be in Shawnee, Oklahoma. And Jennifer, if they can go online, but if they wanted to contact you in any way, what's the best way to go about it?
Well, they can call me on my cell phone number at 405-401-4759, or they can look on the website. My number's on there too. If they have any questions on filling it out, or some people don't have access to a computer, and then if they just send me the information, I just do it all for them. We have a lot of Mennonite customers and they don't have a computer, so I just have them send me their information. I just do it for them.
Jennifer Henderson with the Shawnee Horse Sales. She's been doing this for a very long time. And Jennifer, that's really impressive since you're only 25 years old. So that was,
I think I don't look a whole lot older than that.
Anyway, we really appreciate it. Merle and I will probably be down there on your next sale. Thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, I can tell you how much we appreciate Jennifer coming on board and talking about the Shawnee auctions. I mean, these are definitely the way to go when you're buying horses.
No, it's very interesting. I like about our show that we have something for everyone.
You know, going from legal law to better cattle all the way to Shawnee, and then having an Olympian coming on the show. This has probably been one of our best shows.
It's varied.
Okay. All right. So I'm patting ourselves on the back. But we really want to thank you listeners for staying with us, and we do appreciate it. If you missed our radio show in any way, be sure to check us out on our podcast by looking up at betterhorses.com, or just hit Better Horses anywhere you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to check out Better Horses newspaper. Lots of great tips for horses and riders.
And also our TV show that's airing on RFD and the Cowboy Channel, now streaming on Equus TV. You can see all of our shows and all of our episodes on our YouTube channel also. And giving special thanks to our radio producer, Brianna Johnson.
And our TV producer, Kelly Creech.
Well, I tell you what, Merle, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. Hope you guys join us next week. But we all want to say to everyone, be good buckaroos out there and buckarettes, and mind your mom and dads, and be brave, but don't take any chances out there. Until next time, I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
Happy trails, and always ride for the brand.